In the last few years, retro gaming has only gotten more popular. Right now, more people are turning away from modern gaming and returning to retro games instead. I don't really consider myself a retro gamer, but I mostly find myself replaying older games like Kingdom Hearts or Pokemon. Since 2023, I've started going to a bunch of local retro stores. Over the years, I've seen prices slowly increasing, but they've actually exploded in the last few months. For example, I was browsing GameStop's retro section and I saw a 3DS XL for $400. To put things into perspective, I got mine back in 2019 for only $76. So I have to ask, is retro gaming getting too expensive now? Before we talk about retro prices going up, we need to talk about why people are going back to begin with. The biggest reason is because of how expensive everything else is getting. Literally as I was putting this video together, Sony announced the prices for PS5s are going up again. The regular PS5 is now $650 and the PS5 Pro is going to be $900. That's an insane jump, especially when you remember the reactions to the digital PS5 originally being $400. Now that same console is $600. When I was growing up, if you waited a few years or even a few months, you see prices go down. Now we're seeing a 6-year-old console go up in price for a second time. It's not just consoles though. The same PC I got 3 years ago more than doubled in price in the last few months. For a long time, retro gaming was the cheaper alternative. Instead of paying $70 for a new game, you could use that same amount of money to buy several older ones. The rise of retro gaming also has to do with nostalgia. While it may not seem that long ago, people are starting to get nostalgic for the 2000s and even the 2010s. Maybe you sold your old consoles when you upgraded to the next one when you were younger, and now you want to go back and play them again. Another thing about retro gaming is that you actually own your games. Back then, you'd buy a game and you put it in the console and that was it. You didn't need to install any updates, game expansions or DLC weren't really commonplace yet, and you didn't really need to worry about your favorite game shutting down. With retro games, as long as you still have the disc, the game is yours forever. With people returning to retro gaming more than ever, that shift is starting to create a new problem. Retro gaming itself is starting to get expensive too. The biggest reason for this is supply and demand. But the thing with retro gaming is that these older games and consoles aren't being made anymore, so the amount of them available is limited. Also, within the last few years, older consoles that had online stores like the 360 or the Wii have had their online stores shut down. Now the only way to actually own these games is to buy them physically. Not only that, but now we're all competing to find physical copies, so the prices are only going to keep going up. The owner of the retro store I go to was telling me about how the market has exploded lately. He has several games in the store that increased by over $50 in market value just within the past few weeks. With retro gaming blowing up, resellers are starting to take advantage of this and increasing prices. I understand that sometimes a game like Silent Hill 2 can be rare and sell for well over $100, but now everything is going up. A few years ago, I finally bought myself a Game Boy Advance SP after borrowing one from my cousin since we were kids. I got one on Amazon for only $58, but now the same one is being sold for $160 at GameStop. Companies like Nintendo or Sony know that retro gaming is a big market. That's why we're seeing things like the Nintendo Classic service pop up. Even with these options, they're not doing the best job at preserving the games. Some of these games do have individual ports that you can buy, but a lot of them are tied to a subscription. At the end of the day, if you're paying a monthly subscription, you don't actually own any of these games. Eventually, Nintendo can just remove these games from the service and you won't be able to play them anymore. Right now, retro gaming isn't completely unaffordable, but prices have been rising fast. If both retro and modern gaming keep getting more expensive, eventually people are going to get priced out of both markets. But if that actually does happen, what can people do about it? Everyone can relate to having a massive backlog of games. Years ago, when I got my first job and finally had my own money, I started buying way too many games. Some of these I've either barely played or not even booted up a single time. The past year or two, I've gone through my backlog and played a lot of games I could have played years ago. You already own these games, so you might as well get your money's worth. Emulation can be a viable solution for a lot of people. A lot of companies are doing an awful job at preserving their older games. A lot of these games get released on subscriptions or ported digitally, so you can't get any physical copies of them. There's also some games that are impossible or extremely difficult to play on modern hardware. For example, I never got to play some of the Ratchet & Clank games as a kid, but I can't even play them on a PS5 or PS4 because they're not available as ports. The only way to play them is to stream them through PS Plus Premium. The same with the PS3 Infamous games. I could easily find physical copies of them, but the newer consoles don't have backwards compatibility for PS3 games. Not only that, but some older games have become extremely expensive. Silent Hill 2 can go for hundreds of dollars even if it's used. And when people talk about emulation being piracy, most of the games people emulate aren't even available on modern hardware. You can't play something like Pokemon Heart Gold on the Nintendo Switch 2, so it's not like Nintendo is losing money there. In most cases, the only people that are really making money are the resellers. Pokemon Heart Gold is one of my favorite games ever, but I can't justify anyone paying as much as $400 for it. While PC gaming may be expensive up front, it's possible for it to become a better investment in the long term. I'm not an expert on PC gaming, but there are some cheaper options. Maybe you won't be able to play every game in 4K or Ultra settings, but a lot of games would still be playable. I mostly use my computer for work, but the one I have is a gaming computer. It may not be a high-end PC, but I've been able to play games like Cyberpunk with no issues. Also, Steam is known for having huge discounts. During the spring sale, I saw Fallout New Vegas on sale for only $1. So while the entry point for PC may seem expensive, if you take advantage of cheaper hardware or Steam sales, it can end up being one of the more affordable ways to play games. At the end of the day, both retro and modern gaming are going up in price. Modern gaming has shifted from being a one-time purchase to being something you constantly pour more into, with microtransactions and subscriptions. Retro gaming has become more desirable than ever for various reasons. When that supply in the market becomes less and less, those prices are going to keep going up. When people can't afford modern or retro games, people are going to resort to other methods. But what about you guys? Do you think gaming is getting too expensive? We're getting to the point where we're starting to see people get completely priced out of the hobby. Maybe you guys have ways you're saving money, or maybe you just completely stop playing entirely. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, you can check out some of my previous ones here. I've got some more videos I'm currently working on, so if you want to catch those too, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Until then, I'll catch you in the next one.